What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mount Fitness MBS Ministry, where I am your host, Brother Minister Mongoose, and where this ministry puts a premium emphasis on living a holistic mind, body, and spirit path to health and wellness, and of course, to life overall. And this ministry also puts a premium emphasis on this group of people that is most commonly referred to as the have-nots. That's what they're referred to in the Bible. So keep those two things in mind, guys. We're going to take right off into today's topic, which starts with sending a shout out, a very special shout out to you guys out there that have been putting in the hard work, the pain, the suffering, the hurt, the tears, the setbacks, the mistakes, brought upon by your own hands, or in my case, brought upon by my own hands, the betrayals caused by others, the whole shebang. You guys have been putting that hard work in. And you're starting to reap the harvest of it. That's right. See, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. You don't get to plant bitter grapefruit and then expect to receive a harvest of juicy and voluptuous watermelons. And by that same token, you don't have to worry that if you plant beautiful, juicy, voluptuous watermelons, you're going to get back a bitter harvest of grapefruits. It works both ways, guys, and you guys have been out there planting watermelons, oranges, peaches, whatever your thing is. They're juicy, they're voluptuous, even in the midst of the hard ground, the dry seasons, the stormy, rainy season that washed out, the soil. You've still been out there putting that work in. And you guys are in a harvest season. I salute you guys. I celebrate you guys. Don't be afraid to give yourself a very humble, modest, and yet a very truthful and unapologetic pat on the back. This is a new season for you. All of the things, all of the people, again, the situations that I just mentioned, mistakes, betrayals, setback, bad intentions on your own, people you trusted and turns out they were a snake all along, whatever the case may be, bad financial investments, those things that had easily beset you, they've lost their power. You've taken your power back. The harvest has arrived. You're amongst a very special, a very select group of people. The Bible says, the work that's needed, it's plentiful. But the workers are few. The work that's needed is plentiful. But the workers are few. Few people walking around on the planet going through those topsy-turvy times, having to look themselves in the mirror and see their flaws, see their mistakes, see those underlying things about themselves that are ugly and embarrassing, and yet face those things. Put that work in. This is what you've been doing. This is your season of coronation. Yes, that's not braggadocious. It's truth. You've taken your power back. And those situations, those circumstances, those people, those mistakes, they have nothing that they could threaten you with. They have nothing that they could use against you. All of their so-called connections, their so-called financial advantages, their so-called political connections, their muscles, their strength. There's nothing they could use against you. They have nothing to threaten you with. You've gone through the fire and you're in your harvest season. And boy, does it feel good. You've entered into a season to where you're no longer fighting. You're no longer defending. You're no longer resisting. You're no longer begging to fit in. You're no longer begging to be understood. You're no longer explaining yourself. You're just standing in the truth of it all. And the truth of it all is that this is your harvest season. You see the looks on the people's faces that used to show up, and they got a kick out of knowing that they could negatively impact you, your mood. The people that can walk up and remind you of your shortcomings, your mistakes, those situations that would arrive out of nowhere. You just get a unannounced or unexpected bill in the mail. That jerk when you just pull up to the stop sign and they cut you off and give you the middle finger. Whatever it is, you've taken your power back. And you've taken it back not by fighting against them, not by proving yourselves against them, not by comparing yourself against them, but just by simply standing in your truth, prioritizing your mental, your physical, and your spiritual health and wellness, regardless of if you're on the top of the ladder or what we would call the bottom or near the bottom of the ladder. It doesn't matter. All that matters is the fact that you have cleared some hurdles, some ditches, some potholes that the world, that the society at large, those enemies who smiled in your face as friends, they dug trenches, they laid traps, set bait. Hey man, you're doing well. You've gotten your power. You've taken your power back. You see it. You feel it. They see it. They feel it. It's a beautiful season to be in, man. It's a beautiful season to be in. And although the challenges may yet abound, the Bible says, though challenges and difficulties abound, so that much more does his mercy. So if you got 10 degrees, if you will, of problems, you got at least 11 degrees of mercy. This is the season. See, the eyes, while they were watching you, so was this thing we call God. While they were challenging you, so was this thing called God. Again, welcome to your coronation. You've won. You've won. The harvest is coming in. And some of you, when you're watching this, you know that I'm speaking specifically to you. That toxic member in the family, that toxic relationship, the mistakes that you used to just look at yourself like, wow, I can't believe I did that. I made that investment that wiped me out. You would look at those things and it would take an enormous amount of difficulty for you to not just simply fall into despair, to be thrown off your game for 2-3 weeks or several months at a time just because of that mistake that you made. Now you look at that mistake like, hey, I learned a lesson from that. I learned a valuable lesson from that. And that lesson is now mine. I own that lesson. And I carry that lesson into the future. And I apply that lesson. You've been totally liberated. Totally liberated. You know, there's this movie that I am very fond of. It's called V for Vendetta. Some of you guys, I'm sure, have seen it. The scene in there is profoundly beautiful. The scene in there where he takes this young lady, and for those, this is for those of you who haven't seen it, but there's a scene in there. If you like movies about heroism and integrity and principle and courage and resilience, determination, and all those kinds of things, you'll find all those in this movie. But there's a scene where the main character is taking the co-main character through a season. And the season is laid out by the co-character always having lived in fear, always having been threatened, feel intimidated, put off, put down, and just living in fear of a system based on some things that they had experienced themselves. In other words, the system, the people, the world that they lived in had promoted nothing but fear, and they had experienced a real world situations that validated that need for them to be fearful. So they had legitimate grounds to be fearful. Well, the main character ultimately sent the young lady through all kinds of changes, all kinds of things that tested her fear, or that caused her to have so much fear that fostered and furthered that fear. But at the same time, he was giving her different options or different information or different types of awareness that brought her to the fact that, you know what, there's something bigger than life. There's something bigger than money. There's something bigger than reputation. There's something bigger than proving myself. There's something bigger than fighting and battling against somebody else. So he put her in this situation where it was literally those two different truths running simultaneously, like two locomotives set full speed in opposite directions against each other. She was faced with both of those scenarios. And ultimately, what she realized, what she chose, not everybody does. Remember, the work is plentiful, but the workers are few. So not everybody does, but she chose that, you know what? There's something bigger than reputation, money, education, social status, all these different things. There's something bigger, there's something more valuable than this thing that we call life. Because real life is eternal. Real life is eternal. So she got to this point to where she realized that this so-called physical life, this human experience, it's but a vapor. Why would I sacrifice my love, my honor, my integrity, my truest divine beliefs out of fear? So to make a long story short, she was put in the place to where she had to choose, hey, you're going to die for what she was going to either be killed, literally, for what she believed in, or she was going to betray somebody that she knew she shouldn't betray. And she welcomed death. I said all that to say this is the type of situations and circumstances that you've been going through, that I've had to go through, to where ultimately we realize, you know what, that disrespect, there's something bigger than that. Me trying to prove myself, me trying to battle against you, me trying to prove you wrong or compete against you or do the wrong thing just so my reputation stays intact and all those different things. There's something bigger than those things. And so you've chosen to just stand in the truth and they got nothing. They got nothing to threaten you with. So again, they were threatening her to kill her. And again, this was a young lady who all she'd ever known was fear. She had watched her parents be taken, watched her parents be killed, her closest friends be killed. So they was threatening to kill her unless she betrayed this person that she knew she shouldn't betray. And when they came to get her, they said, "Hey, listen, this is the last chance. We about to go and put you out there in front of that firing squad, or you gonna tell us what we need to know about this dude." And she said, "Well, you know what? She'd rather face the firing squad." Long story made short, you've decided to say, "Hey, what they say about you doesn't matter. You competing about them doesn't matter. You competing against them doesn't matter. Them being rude, disrespectful, it doesn't matter. There's something far much more richer, something much more eternal and infinitely valuable, more valuable than those things. You guys have become totally liberated. You've taken back your power." So ultimately, this girl in this movie, she realized that, okay, those were just tests. But then she realized that she passed the test. Like, what is there to be? There's nothing to be afraid of. So when it was revealed to her that it was a test, now she could go through life in those same dark places, though, facing those same dark challenges, facing those same dark people, the same dark, tough, mean obstacles. She could face them now, and she could face them without fear because she had to go through that fire. And this is where you guys are. So that narcissist, that demonically possessed person or people, those mistakes that you've made, those shortcomings, lack of support, whatever, you may still face those things, but you face those things knowing, not arrogantly or dismissively, but you face those things with a big old fat, so what? There's something more valuable than you, narcissist, being disrespectful. There's something more valuable than you, Mr. My own past mistakes, trying to bring me down, or the rumors that they spread. You walk around with 1,000 silent, so what? And it's beautiful. It's refreshing. You've gone from going down the highway of life with the emergency brake on, and now you've removed that emergency brake. Take 3 seconds and let that land. Driving down the highway with the emergency brake on. And what happens when you take the emergency brake off? This is where you are now. Because all of that energy, all of that time, all of that attention that went towards fighting and bickering and proving you was right and proving that you're better and proving they were wrong and proving that you're worthy and competing that you're going to come out of, all that energy now is being unked. It's being recycled right back into you because you're no longer spending energy on that. And all the energy that went towards that is now being umped, kind of like a boomerang. It's being umped right back into you. So this is why you feel so much more joy, so much more fulfilled, so much more encouraged, so much more at peace, so much more at ease, even in the face of those storms. This is why. Because you've realized that, you know what? Fighting against that is just a waste of time. Caring about my reputation and what others think about me, that's just a waste of time. Trying to prove myself, trying to beg people to understand me, trying to prove my worthiness, to show that I'm a good person. You might as well be out there trying to teach calculus to a caterpillar. It's never going to happen, and you finally realize it's never going to happen. And so now you just take that emergency brake off And in doing so, you simultaneously have taken back your power. And people can't stand it. But that's their problem. That's not a your problem. That's not a my problem. That's a their problem. Because you have put in the work. You have worked hard. You have sweated. You have grinded. You have toiled. And you have pressed repeat on it. Like, this is what you have gone through for weeks, months, some of you guys for years and even decades of putting in that work. Letting go of the old you and embracing the new you. And so those that are meant to come along with you on your journey, they'll come along. You ain't got to beg them. You ain't got to plead them. You ain't got to preach to them. They're going to come along. And if it's meant for them not to come along, then you just sit back and wait for them to exit your life or play themselves out of position to the point to where the universe removes them from your life. And then the flowers grow. Once the weeds are removed, then the flowers blossom. So you're just sitting back in such a beautiful place. And it's because you decided that the most important thing is you and the race that he set before you. If you aren't your own best friend, then how can you expect someone else to be your best friend? You don't love yourself enough to prioritize your own mental, physical, and spiritual health and wellness. But you expect your spouse to love everything about you. You expect your neighbors, your family, your friends, society to understand you and accept you in your entirety when you don't put forth any kind of work to understand yourself and you don't accept yourself. Because if you accepted yourself, and I'm talking about the narcissists out there, if they accepted themselves truly for who they are, then they would realize that all it amounts to, and is a lot. I'm going to get a little bit vulgar here, guys. What it amounts to is something that's a lot less. You've been warned. So, if you guys aren't into vulgar language, you might want to go ahead and skip this. But all of the little mean-spirited things that they've done to you, and all the things that you have done to yourself, because we were all born into the system that says, you know what, this is what you got to have to be successful. This is what you got to have to be accepted and respected in society. So we put ourselves through the ringer oftentimes, just trying to meet those standards. But now we've let it go. And now all of it amounts to what is less than, it has less value than a pimple on my ass or a pimple on your ass. Their attitude, their negativity, your mistakes, the rumors that they've said, that whatever, it has less value than a pimple on your ass. And just to close this out, guys. So embrace the mindset that says, you know what? Given that it has less value than a pimple on your ass, you take the approach that says, hey, the haters, the naysayers, those that want to try to disrupt your peace, or in my case, disrupt my peace, those who want to point to the mistakes, point to the lack of resources, lack of family, lack of education, whatever, how much weight you got to lose. The people that want to point that out, again, your own mistakes, whatever, every time that tries to come across your mind, you remember that it has less value than a pimple on your ass. So you tell that situation or that person or people, you tell them, hey, you know what? What you're doing, what you're all about, has less value than a pimple on my ass. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to kiss my ass and make sure that when you kiss it clean. That's an old school saying, guys. I had to put that out there because it's been kind of like forever since I've said it. But it's the truth. This is where you are. Now, whether you use the vulgar language or not, the concept, the truth of it all remains. Because you have grown, you have evolved to where no one can tell you, man, look at all that weight you got to lose. Yeah, but what about your family life? Yeah, I know you got a criminal history. Yeah, what about your lack of education? I see what kind of car you driving. Hey man, those things just don't have any value no more. You've transcended it all. You've gone through the fire, just like the lady in the story, and you realize, hey man, what's most valuable is me being true to myself and finishing the race that he set before me. And you see it in their faces, you sense it in their energy, and they sense it in your energy. That narcissist on the job that used to get a thrill out of showing up, pushing your buttons, projecting all their negativity onto you, misery loves company, trying to tear you down because they can't stand a positive environment. They sense it. They got nothing they can do to you. They can't threaten you. They can't push your buttons anymore. And I'll close with this. Whether you have devised or came up with, constructed a program, a protocol for if the situation goes left, as they say, if you have sat down and came up with a program, well, what if the narcissist just comes up to your face and spit in your coffee, whatever the case may be? What if the boss does come in and talk so far down to you, and your rent is due that Friday and you can't afford to get fired? Whatever the case may be, what if you go home and you find your spouse laying up in your house with someone that you've long since known they're cheating anyway? What if you haven't put into a protocol, if whatever kind of situation it may be, if you haven't put that protocol in for what happens if it goes left, if you're not prepared, and I recommend that you do be prepared, but if you aren't, here's what you need to know. God has. The universe has. Just because you're prioritizing being at your best. See, the universe don't reward ugliness. The universe rewards beauty and trial and struggle and commitment and refinement and renewal and hope and love. This is what the universe rewards. And by you prioritizing your mental, physical, and spiritual health, this is what you're striving for. So if whether or not you have a absolute game plan for what you're going to do if this goes left, or if you don't have a plan for that, God does. So don't worry about it. You're going to keep on pissing them off. That boss that can't no longer push your button, if he decide one day or she decide one day, yeah, she's just going to all of a sudden fire you. If you're able to, have a game plan for that. But if you don't have a game for it, that's okay. If you don't have a game plan for it, that's okay too, because God has a game plan for it. If you go home and that spouse is sleeping in the bed in the house with somebody, if that narcissist walks up and spit in your face, whatever come what may, he's already made a way, and he's made a way because you've taken back your power. He's been with you all along. So let them reap the fruits of their harvest. When they see you coming, when they see you sitting there in the midst of their toxicity, no longer bothered, no longer threatened, no longer fearful, no longer feeling like you have to defend yourself. You're just sitting there and watching it all play out. All that energy that you start, you look back now and you say, wow, that was a lot of energy. Energy that you could use and that you're now using for game planning, for prioritizing, for scheduling, for assessing, for problem solving. All of that energy that is now going towards those things was once going to you fighting against some clown on a job, battling against some idiot in the office, some narcissist out of nowhere. You don't do that anymore. You're in your harvest season. You have taken back your power from those people, from those places, and from those things, and there's nothing they have to threaten you with. Not their big, strong muscles, not their, hey, we're going to fire you. Hey, man, I really need the job, but hey, if you're going to fire me, that's okay. Then you're just going to fire me. But what you're not going to do, blah, 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 blah. You've been liberated, guys. You've taken back your power. This is what I got for you guys. Let me get out of here, man. Listen, leave me a message. Let me know what you did today for your mental you, your physical you, and your spiritual you. Let me know what you did yesterday. What you're going to do tomorrow. Let me know what steps you took to make sure there was a balanced approach to you where you didn't feed or put too much time and attention in one or two of those areas while leaving the remaining area or areas unattended to or totally imbalanced. Let me know. Of course, if you'd like some specific details on what you can do for your mental, physical, and spiritual health and wellness, there's tons of services that are provided by this ministry. These services consist of philosophical counseling, youth and young adult mentoring and counseling, clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices, and definitely go to the physical fitness website at mountfitnessmbs.com to get some information about the physical fitness training, diet, nutrition, and all that good stuff. If you're interested in either of those services, or perhaps even all of them, be sure to hit the email link down in the description box, and let's get you scheduled for your initial consultation and evaluation. This is what I got for you guys, man. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I value every single one of you. And if you got any kind of value whatsoever out of today's message, then please consider becoming a supporter of this ministry. You can do so by doing one or more of the following things. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on the bell icon for notifications. Leave a comment. Investigate and or utilize services. Schedule your initial consultation and evaluation. And also please consider making a financial donation to this ministry. To do that, there's a Cash App link down in the description box. Go out there and live. Receive the fruits of your harvest. You put the work in. You refuse to become toxic. You refuse to become bitter. You refuse to fall into despair and hopelessness. You refuse to fall into greed or lust. You refuse to do anything other than to prioritize you in a holistic way, and of course focusing on the race that he has set before you. And as a result of you doing that continually, constantly, regardless of the rains, the floods, the storms, the drought seasons, now it's your harvest season. You don't have to rub anybody's nose in it, but if you want to go out there and have a feast, if you want to give back to different people and situations that, okay, wow, you got this harvest, you want to share it, then do it by all means. You've put the work in. You've earned it. You deserve it. It's yours. This is what I got for you guys. I love you all. Thanks again. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. And yes, I am Brother Minister Mongoose. And yes, I will holla back. Peace.